Well, here we are in Central Oregon. This is our last week out of a 3-week segment in some of the campgrounds in the Pacific Northwest. We're arriving here in Central Oregon at North Twin Lake. North Twin Lake is approximately 16 to 17 miles from Lapine, Oregon, and about double that to Bend, Oregon. It's one of the older campgrounds in Central Oregon. It's been around quite a while. There's been a tremendous influx in population in this area. And as I remember as a kid, 45 years or so ago, this lake was quite a bit more remote. It was all dirt road in those days for the last 15 or 20 miles of the trip in here. Maybe not that way, but it sure felt like that at the time. Most of it's asphalt now, but here we're going to enter the campground, and this is where the asphalt ends and the gravel begins. The road is still well maintained. This is September 21st, 2011. And this is the tail end of the summer season here. In fact, this campground is going to close on October 10th. I just wanted to give a brief overview. Now that the summer is over here, the campgrounds are pretty bare. Actually, there's just a few people here. Usually during the summer they're packed, especially on weekends. And on National Forest Service camps in this area particularly, it's first come, first serve, so you got to get here early in the morning if it's peak summer season, and try to get a tent, get a site set up, because there's no reservations in this particular one anyway. I used to come up here, excuse me, I used to come up here as a kid quite a bit. In high school I was an avid scuba diver, and I liked diving in some of Central Oregon's lakes, and this is one of them. There's an adjacent lake called South Twin Lake, and that's a little bit better for diving purposes. A little bit bigger, and I think the water's a little clearer. There's no motors allowed in the boats, on the boats while you're on the lakes here in these small lakes. There's no exit for the water, so they don't want to pollute the lakes with oil and whatever motors emit into the system here. Okay, we got around the corner, and then we'll come right into the campground here in a moment. But I like this area a lot. It's dry. In fact, we just came from the coast, over on the Oregon coast, a couple of days ago, and we had gale winds over there, and about 1.5 inches of rain fell one night alone, and kind of ruined the trip. We were there 3 or 4 days, and it kind of drowned us out most of the time. But here in Central Oregon, it's mostly clear, dry. In fact, we're in drought conditions right now here in Central Oregon. That too puts a crimp on camping here. When it's this dry, there are regulations as far as fire usage, and we're going to come up to that in just a moment. We're entering the campground now. I'm just going to pan around the entryway here a little bit so you can kind of see it. There's very few people in here right now today. As you can see all the campsites, and this is the time to take a look at it and maybe plan something next spring or summer if you're coming or planning to visit Central Oregon. This would be a good campsite to come to. There are some drawbacks here. I'll get into that in a moment. Okay, we're going to go through the entranceway here, and I'll show you some of the restrictions put on these all of the Deschutes campgrounds during drought seasons. And this is one of the driest ones. It's been weeks, I guess, since they've had any rain, particularly here. And as you can see from the looks of this sign, no campfires, no chainsaw use, no vehicles off-road, and no smoking. And that is a severe warning right there. Usually you can have a campfire. You've got pitch here, fire pitch here, but right now you're not allowed to use them. That doesn't apply to lanterns, like gas lanterns, and Coleman stoves, things like that. But you got to control them and don't leave them burning unattended. But you can use those even right now. Another thing is you might notice the checkout time is 2 o'clock in the afternoon, which is really unusually good. Most campgrounds try to get you out of there around 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. And if you got in the afternoon before, you're not going to spend a lot of time there, unless you spend 2 or 3 days like we are here. Okay, proceeding on. Oh, before I forget this, you pick an envelope out of that box right in front of you and then fill it out. That's how you register here. There's no camp host on site. and you drop it in this pay box down here, that red one, with your money in it and the dates that you arrive, your car's registry or your car's license plate number, and you pay right there. And somebody will drive around either that afternoon or the next day and collect those. And so you need to put your site up first, and then come over and register your site here at the entrance. Okay, now we can proceed. And moving right smartly along, like I say, the road is very well maintained here. There's no potholes, and as dry as it is, you're not going to have a problem with potholes forming anyway, unless you get some moisture in here. But you can see how peaceful it is in the background there. There are toilets, there are no showers, no running water. You got to bring your own water in. The nearest water from here is about 4 miles away, and that's the only pain. That's one of the drawbacks I mentioned just a few moments ago, or I didn't mention that I'm mentioning now, is you have to bring your own water in here. They used to, at one time, years and years ago, they used to have a hand pump in here where you could pump it right here locally. Now, you got to drive, like I say, a few miles away to fill your containers up and bring them in, and you want to keep those containers handy, especially if it's not drought and you are planning to have a fire, because like I say, there's no running water and no pumps available right here on the campground itself. And let me think, no showers, no running water. Other than that, it is it's a beautiful lake, and we'll get down to the lake shore here in a moment. You can ski in a moment where we're camped over here. And my daughter's up from Portland, Marie. She's visiting us now, and she'll be here for a few days. And we're going to return back to Idaho, and she's going to go back to Portland, and hopefully I'll have my son down from Portland in another campground in a couple of days, and we can have a good visit at that point. And here we are. We're moving into our campground, and right now we're the only standing tent here. If you can imagine that. We usually had one or two the night before, but at this point in time, we're the only ones here other than the fishermen over there on the lake, and we'll visit them in a moment too. And this is my daughter's tent here. And she also bought a boat, and she's been playing with it out on the water, trying to fish. I haven't seen any fish come in yet, but we'll see later on. And then here's the way we've got it set up. We've got our Coleman stove, like I mentioned a few moments ago, and a cooler. And again, you got to bring everything, bring your ice in. Nothing is available on site here. And there's my daughter running away from the camera. And this is what she drove up in last night, or this morning. And here's our car. And again, as you'll notice, the fire pits are empty because they're not allowing us to use them right now. But it is a comfortable place. There's no breeze hardly at all through here. It's just nice and pleasant, probably about early to mid 70s in temperature. And at night it does drop down to probably, I'm saying, upper 30s. So it gets pretty cold early in the morning when you're in a place like this. And we're going to put this on YouTube where you can all see it, what's going on here. Now we'll walk down to the lake and take a look. And you can see the trees just present an enormous amount of shade in here. So even during the heat of the day when the sun's out, the shade from these trees really make a huge difference. You're not going to get baked in the sun here, and that's one of the beauties of this place. You got warm water. Now keep in mind, this is late September. We're on the tail end of September, and people are swimming here in Central Oregon. Now this is unusual, but we've had some unusually warm weather this year. And so let's just go on down to the lake and take a look at it. And there are fish jumping here at night, especially late in the afternoon. You can sit down there in a lawn chair, and the fish are quite plentiful, prolific, really, jumpers. They jump right out of the water as the bugs come out and light on the water. And see, we're the only tent here right now. Maybe some more people will show up later in the afternoon, but you can see that people do come over here to fish, and they've been coming in and out here all day long. Some have boats, and some are just fishing from the shore bank. It's a nice place for a family to come and just spend some time together. Now I'm just going to kind of pan around here and you can get a view of the place and see what it really looks like. Okay. Oh boy, I don't know where my daughter went. I thought she was going to come over here and throw the pole in the water. But I guess not. But as you can see, this lake is beautiful. It's lined with trees and it has a good bank. You can hike around it. There's a trail here. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I haven't done it in a while, but I believe you can link up with South Twin Lake itself to the south of here on that trail. And it adds its own trail to that mix. So anyway, that's basically it. I would recommend it if you're not offended by not having running water, or at least a hand pump on the campground, if you're willing to truck the water in or bring it here. And the fact that there's no electricity in the campground at all. And those are the only drawbacks, but the beauty of just being here to relax is really something else. And so in that sense, I recommend it, depending on what you're looking for. So I hope you enjoyed this little tour, and will join us on another tour later on in the week. Thank you. Bye.